Welcome, fellow drum nerds and music producers. On this channel, we provide videos of unique sounding and looking percussive instruments, from sound examples to musical performances, interviews, and behind the scenes with manufacturers. So, if you're a drum nerd just like us, please consider subscribing and liking the video so we can get the custom drum word out. We as Red Pack Drums are focused on getting you custom built drums to your desktop. This way you can play with the sounds of drums that are not available without selling a kidney or two. Will it be on your electronic kit or for your home productions? So if you guys have any suggestions on custom or expensive drums that you would like in a sample library, please leave it in the comments below, and we will definitely consider adding these to our roster. So our first ever release is going to be from custom builder in the always sunny and warm south of Europe, DS Drum from Italy. Italy? Don't these people only build beautiful cars, cook great food, and design the best clothes in the world, you ask? Which my answer would be yes, they do. Italians are known for their eye for details and their great taste of aesthetics. So that they build great sounding and looking drums would be obvious, right? DS Drum is founded more than 25 years ago by Luca de Rosola, and their main focus has always been hand-built, custom designed by their users drum kits. And the Rebel Custom shop is still going full speed ahead. But DS Drum released this year a new drum series where you just have to sell the one kidney, or even series where no body parts have to be sold. So that's great, right? So that's great news for the people who are just starting out drumming or always wanted to own an Italian stallion without breaking the bank. So if you're in the market for an acoustic drum kit, definitely check out their website. I'll put a link somewhere in the description. But their next step in taking the drum world by storm was to create an extensive and easy to use sample library, multiple libraries, and that's why they teamed up with us. So without further ado, I present to you, and that rhymes, the DS Drum Rebel Custom Shop Essentials. This is a virtual drum library, so you can recreate the DS Drum sound on your electronic drum kit or for your own productions. This library contains a whopping 30 gigs of 80,000 drum samples of Italian's finest. So let's dive in. So the whole idea about our dashboard is to get a drum groove going and getting the drum sound you're looking for in 2 clicks. Just select the preset here in the top left corner, give Kontakt the time to load all the samples, and just hit the big play button in the middle. It's that easy. And if this is not the sound you're looking for, hit stop, select another preset. Let's go with the chopper. I really like the chopper. And repeat until you found the one you like. You can even fine-tune the hit strength of your virtual drummer in a box down here with the slider. Pretty cool. So we made up to 40 presets, but with these drums and mix capabilities of our mixer, which I will go through shortly, it could easily have been a gazillion presets. A gazillion. But we thought, let's give our users some room to show us their soundscaping creativity. So we would love to hear presets that you guys are going to make, and please post them on our Facebook community page or send them to info@redpackdrums.com, and we will pick a winner who will get a DS Drum library for free. There are some beautiful artist kits planned to be created for next year, so you will get one of these. The winner will be announced on our Facebook community group on the 1st of February 2022. This way we can give people some time to play with all the possibilities of our mixer because it's pretty extensive. Please check the Kontakt manual, how to save your own presets and where you can find these snapshot files on your hard drive. I will leave a link to the manual in the description. So let's jump on the drum screen. On the drum selection screen, you can select the three kits we recorded on the right side: maple spruce, maple koto, and the mahogany. On the left side, menu the three different beaters: a wool, felt, and a wood one, and these will give a nuanced sound difference in the attack of the bass drum. You can audition them by clicking here on the play buttons. If you're looking for a more low end and some lighter bass drum hits, select the wool beater. Or are you looking for a hard hits with a ton of attack, then pick the wood one, and the felt is the more balanced one of the three. Here on the right side you can select the three different tunings we recorded for the kits. I've been using drum sample libraries myself for a long time, and I never really liked the digital tuning possibilities of drum sample libraries. So now, when we started to build our own library, the first thing I said was, let's record the drums in multiple tunings. So when you want to detune the drums, you don't have to rely on digital pitch shifting, and that turned out really cool. So what we did here, and this is going to get a bit drum nerdy, is that tuning one for all three kits are the same. This way, the wood difference of the kits would really be the main focus of the sound difference, and you can really hear that the mahogany kit has more low end, and the maple kits project more and are more attacky than their mahogany counterpart. But tuning 2 and 3 are for all three kits different. And not only in pitch, we also change the balance of the top and the bottom head to change the tuning. Something you could never do with a digital tuner, right? So we tune the maple spruce kit up and tune the bottom head higher than the top one, so that results in a shorter tone. And with the maple koto, we went down in pitch and did a tuning where we raised the bottom head, and one tuning where we lowered the bottom head in relation to the top head. For the mahogany kit, we kept max resonance, and that means the top and the bottom head are tuned exactly the same. Also, when you click on the DS logo on each shell, you can interchange any drum part you want. For example, if you want a mahogany floor and a maple spruce kick drum, koto rack toms, this is all possible in these drop-down menus. Here you can also see the resonant head tuning, where it says reso same, the top and the bottom head are tuned the same, and where it says reso higher, the bottom head is tuned higher than the beater head, and where it says reso lower, yeah, obvious, right? The note to which the drum is tuned is also displayed here. So you can really tailor each drum sound to your own specs and tunings. But to put the cherry on top of this beautiful drum cake, we also added a digital tuner for each drum to really fine tune the pitch to, for example, the key of your song, or to go crazy with the different sound possibilities. But more on that later. Let's jump over to the snare selection screen. Yeah, we'd set up the snare selection screen in a similar way as the drum selection screen. We recorded 10 snare drums for this library, 3 of the Mother Nature series, and that's DS Unique Wood series. Great characterful sounds, 4 metal series snares if you need a more brighter snare drum with a metal character to it. and the Rebel custom shop snare that came with the custom drums of the main screen. My all-time favorite is the mahogany, which you see now in the screen. But don't tell Luca that I have a favorite. They're like his kids there, right? So he loves them all. But I find for metal mixes I do for clients, I often go for the 14 by 6 steel because it has a ton of attack and that works great for that kind of music style. But the mahogany just sounds so warm and full to my ears. It's just like an angel singing me to sleep. Anyway, you can audition all of them by hitting the play button next to the name. You can change the actual tuning with the tuner down here, just like on the drum screen, and the audition sounds will change accordingly. And again, these are actual recorded tunings, so no fake tunings here. All the real deal. And when you've found your snare character and tuning, you can tell Kontakt to load all the actual samples by clicking the name of the snare drum. The hit strength slider is also accessible from this screen. So when you change the snare sound, you can tweak the global hit strength from here as well. On the cymbal selection screen, you have 6 cymbals at the same time to your disposal. A splash, a crash on the left, a hi-hat, a ride, a crash to the right, and a china. And for all spots, we have a second a cymbal. And these are really different sounding cymbals, so we could cover a lot of musical styles. And on this page, we use the same setup for selection, auditioning, and hit strength fine tweaking, so nobody can get confused about navigating all the possibilities of this virtual drum machine. Here on the groove page, you can find the DS artist grooves for inspiration. Select one, hit the play button to play along with your guitar, or look for some inspiration for your own song. You can drag and drop the one you like to your DAW and build from there. You can tweak the notes however you like, and it's also a good way to learn how to program your own drums by analyzing how drummers actually play the drums and which articulations they use and where they use them. So your own drum programming will sound much more realistic. Just a side note, if you use Kontakt standalone, all the grooves will be played at 120 BPM. And if you have Kontakt opened as a plugin in your DAW, it will match the beats per minute of your DAW. You can see the intended BPM of the drum grooves in their titles. Could be that some of your personal grooves or one of the 1,000 other great MIDI packs out there don't sound how they should with our MIDI configuration. But if you sit this one out, I'll explain how to solve this on the MIDI page without having to rewrite all the MIDI parts. Adding MIDI packs to this page is as easy as copying the folder to your MIDI files folder on your hard drive. And when you restart a Kontakt, they are all here in the MIDI packs column. So let's check out some of these grooves. I like these John Harris grooves. The Anna Kennedy also did some really groovy stuff. Thanks for that. Some side stick groove here. And And then you can drag and drop it with this button here to your DAW. Pretty cool. So clicking here will get us over to the mixer. And the mixer is a real beast under the hood. We went all in on the capabilities of the Kontakt player. So here you can find all the volume faders, processing and effects for each drum and cymbal. But we also wanted to keep it noob proof. That's why we created the Alt tab. The Alt tab is just to make quick and easy adjustment in instrument balances without having to click through a ton of tabs and having to change 6 faders to lower the bass drum volume. So in short, these faders control all microphones for the kick, all microphones for the snare, and so on. And these all faders are accessible directly from your NKS compatible keyboard if you use one. The 3 faders here on the right are also for quick adjustments to the volume of all the cymbals at once, all the overhead microphones, and all the room mics in one go. So let's first talk a bit about how we recorded these drums. We use your typical close and overhead microphones, but we have a pretty big room where we record drums, so we also have a stereo pair of room mics. The character microphones do what they say and give your drums more character and are a more mid-range compressed sound, because these are stereo pair microphones where the attack and the release time of the hardware compressor were different for the left and the right signal to give the sound more movement and flavor where needed. The squash microphones are a mono room mic compressed with an 1176 style compressor to really give the drums that tail and pumped sound, and use this one wisely. And last but not least, the beef microphones, and these also do what they say and give your drums more beef. These are low frequency enhancing samples and were recorded with a low pass close proximity sub microphone to enhance the fundamental tone of each and every drum. These are my personal favorites, but you can also blow out some speakers with these if you go crazy with them. Tread carefully and don't say I didn't warn you. So to dive into all these extra features we built in, let's go to the character tab where we have less faders, so it's easier to see and understand how we set this up. Just focus on the one fader and from there it's all the same features more or less. So down here we have a mute, phase switch, polarity switch, how you want to call it, and a solo button. And a great tip to preserve CPU power is that if you don't use a microphone, then mute it and it won't clog up your CPU power. I really love this feature because when running a big mixing project in your recording software and your track count goes up with all kinds of virtual instruments and plugins running, it's always nice to have the option to create some extra breathing room for your computer. So mute what you don't use. Up here we got the panner and EQ and FX button. These are additional equalizers and effect processing for each and every channel separate. So if you are a sound nerd just like me, you can really go all in with this mixer. So let's first have a look at the EQ. And the EQ is a 4-band SSL style equalizer where you can select the frequency bands here and the gain and the Q knobs down here. You can switch between a shelf and a bell with this button for the upper and the lower frequency bands. And there is a high pass filter with a resonant knob, and the high pass frequency you can select by sliding this slider over here. And the iOS buttons are to bypass the EQ and the filter entirely. So let's hit back and open up the FX tab. Here we got 4 modules popping up: a transient designer, a tape saturator, a parallel compression, and 2 different sounding reverbs. And these are impulse responses from a famous, used on countless hit records hardware unit, which I can't mention the name, but it's a small white box you see sitting on every major studio desk. So if you don't know what these processes do, let me explain. So the transient designer makes your drummer hit harder or softer with the attack fader, or makes your sound take longer or shorter to fade with the sustain fader. The tape saturator is to add more vintage warmth to it. And if you have no idea what that means, which I can fully understand, all these terms to explain sound can be pretty confusing. With the warm fader, you can add some more low end to the sound. And with the gain fader, you can distort the signal a bit to make your drums sound less spiky. We set up 2 completely different sounding compressors for you, which you can add to the signal with the wet and the dry mix fader. And these work in series, which means one feeds into the other. So they work best in conjunction with each other, but play around with these 2 faders and see what kind of smack you need and like. The reverbs are a plate and a room sound, and I like to use reverbs not only to give the drums a bit of a spatial quality, but also to color the sounds more. For example, I often use the plate reverb to accentuate high end in the sounds, and the room reverb to accentuate the low end in the drums. So you'll see me combining these 2 reverbs on a snare and toms, and only using the room on the bass drum, and only the plate for the cymbals. But that's all a matter of taste, of course, but to me that sounds better. And also here you can find the bypass button on each unit. Bop, bop. Except for the parallel compression faders. So if you don't need or want to use them, just pull the fader all the way down. So back at the mixer, we have a drop-down menu here, just above the fader, where we have hidden some extra processing abilities for you. Volume, and these are the volume faders, of course. We've got a spread, which is a stereo to mono enhancer. All the way down, you will create the mono signal, and all the way up, you can get it sounding even more wider than just stereo. When you control click on the fader, it will pop back to its default position, and this works on every fader or rotary button within our instrument. Then we have a gate, and here you can adjust the attack, decay, and hold for each channel. So that means you can shorten the sound of a tom, for example, or kill the attack a bit of a snare, or I will use a slower attack, for example, on the beef channels. Really low end heavy signals can click and pop sometimes. So slowing that attack time will clean that up and quite nicely without changing the actual sound. And last but not least, we here have the digital tune knob. At first, I didn't really wanted to feature this at all, because I never liked that kind of tuning in drum sample libraries, which I mentioned earlier. But one of my developers really insisted to add this, because a lot of alternative music styles use this feature. So please let me know in the comments section if you like this option or not. But in hindsight, I'm really glad we did add it, because you can create really cool sounds with it. For example, combining the different sample tunings with the digital tuning to fine tune to the pitch of your song, or going completely crazy with creating breakbeat style snare drums. So again, for every channel, you have all these sound enhancing tools to your disposal. I'm really excited to hear what you guys will come up with. So please send in your snapshots to info@redpackdrums.com, and we will pick out a winner on the 1st of February 2022 who will win a DS sample library for free. So the last page is the MIDI page. This page is where you can load and save custom MIDI mapping. For each articulation, you can assign 2 notes. So here you can see that the rimshot snare hit is on E1 and on A0, and you can change these values in 2 different ways. First, using the drop-down menu and selecting a note by hand, or hitting the MIDI Learn button, like this. And when it's highlighted in red, you can hit the note or 2 notes on your keyboard or electronic drum kit or whatever you're using to trigger these samples. If you just want 1 note to trigger the sound, then hit the pad or key 2 times in a row. So the MIDI Learn will automatically stop highlighting. Here in the map section, you can load factory presets and also save your custom presets in one of the custom 5 slots. Click on Save Map, select one of the custom slots, and if you need to load it, you can find it here in the Load Map drop-down under the custom 1 to 5 slots. The option of exporting and importing custom mapping is available here, where you can save context-specific mapping on your hard drive. And this is useful for sharing your mapping presets with your friends or just to back up your personal mapping. So when the day comes, and that day will come, that you need to reinstall your computer, you won't have to do this process all over again. And when you play one of your other groove packs, it will always sound how they should. You only need to set this up once and save it in a custom slot or as a desired file name for easy browsing. It's a bit of a time-consuming process, I admit it, but when inspiration hits and your custom MIDI patterns don't play how they should, you are really happy you did it in advance. The hi-hat CC is to MIDI Learn your hi-hat pedal if you use an electronic drum kit, and for some pedals you need to invert the signal to make it function properly. On the miscellaneous section, we have 2 last surprises for you, and that's a humanized checkbox and an auto rim shot feature. We recorded all the drums in a ton of velocity layers, and for each layer we got round-robin samples. That means that if you program your drums on, for example, 100 velocity all the way to the end, the sampler will randomize between hits we recorded for that specific layer. And that gives the instrument 1,000 times more a humanized feel to it. And with the checkbox, you can disable that feature, and Kontakt will always play 1 sample for each layer. With the auto rim shot slider, you can determine on which hit strength, aka velocity, the snare hit should trigger rim shots. But first you have to map the auto rim shot articulation to the snare pad or key over here, which I explained earlier. Then, when the threshold is met, he will automatically trigger the rim shots. This is a really cool feature while playing on your electronic drum kit. So that's it for the Rebel Custom Shop Essentials bundle. Don't forget to send in your snapshots to enter the competition to win a free drum library. Please join our Facebook community group. I'll put a link in the description. Feel free to post your songs there. I would really love to hear them and any other questions you have about our libraries. So thanks for watching. Jonathan out. Red Pack Drums.